Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. As always, welcome to another great edition of the EQ Video Tip. Before we jump in, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. What's on tap for today? Well, we've got a great article from Minda Zetlin, who reviews a book called Mini Philosophy by Johnny Thompson. And the book is about the rule of 43 to 57 and how to have a better conversation to accelerate your success. Let's face it, we all want people to like us. We all want people to be more interested in us. And of course, we want to accelerate our success. But how do we do that? Well, it's all about listening more, talking less. But many of us, we get into a conversation, all we want to do is talk and speak. And let's think about it. How often in a conversation are you speaking versus listening? Put that into your thoughts right now as we jump into 3 of the tips that Minda is going to present to us right now. Tip number 1, the 43-57 rule. Let's face it, most of us like to do the talking in conversations. Even those introverts out there, they enjoy to talk. Why is it? Because talking actually feels good. And when we do it, the research actually shows that it activates a pleasure center in our brain, similar to eating delicious food or having that chocolate cake or just some kind of treat that triggers your brain to say, this is good, this makes me feel great. And it takes a while for your brain to offer that to somebody else. But when you offer it to somebody else, it actually is a very powerful gift. So why is it called the 43-57 rule? Great question. Well, research actually occurred with more than 25,000 sales calls. And what happened was they measured the reps' ratio of talking to listening. When reps talked more than 60% of the time, they had the lowest number of sales. But when they talked less than 43% of the time, they actually found that they were selling more to their customers. And what happened is customers who spoke 57% of the time talked more about what they were interested in, and they felt good about the conversation. Overall, what that turned into is the 43-57 rule. So when we're talking, think about listening 57% of the time and only talking about 43% of the time. Tip number 2, practice active listening. Well, that sounds easy, but how do you actually practice active listening? One of the first things you can do is get rid of your smartphone. When you're listening to a conversation, put the smartphone down and actually try to listen to the person. The second thing you can do is pretend you're about to take a test, and this person is the professor giving you all the answers to that test. So ask follow-up questions, but making sure that you're actually following and listening to what that person says will make you more engaged in what's going on. You have to really concentrate to practice active listening. Next time you're at a party or at an event or you're talking to someone, practice active listening. Put the cell phone away and really concentrate on them. And remember, they're the professor about to give you a test. You need to know all the answers. Tip number 3 and our last tip, which is one that we say all the time, ask questions. We're practicing that active listening, and instead of commenting on their thoughts or dialogue, make sure you take a moment to ask a follow-up question. Not a yes-no question like, was it scary? Yes, no. But instead, how did that make you feel? Or tell me more about this. Or what was going through your mind when this happened? When you do that, you're actually giving the other person an opportunity to talk more. So take a moment to take a breath, think about what you want to ask, and ask a question to keep that dialogue 57% on that side while it's 43% on yours. Remember, ask questions. That's a wrap for this week's EQ Video Tip. Hopefully the tips from Minda and Johnny help you in terms of accelerating your career and giving you better success in your conversations. Remember, take a moment to adhere to the 43-57 rule, practice active listening, and of course, make sure you ask questions. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember,
Use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.